So, Brian,
Hey,
uh,
Sam.
I think a lot has happened. I think a lot has happened over the last couple of weeks since we last chatted, and there was quite a bit before that as well. Maybe we've just done a lot of diving into new things, so maybe it feels that way. But
You
obviously,
know, I kind of feel like I think this 2 week cadence is really good, but every time we sit down now, I've got like a ton of stuff to talk about.
yeah, yeah,
I feel like so much happens in the course of 2 weeks. It's fun though. I mean, it's fun coming with, a big list, and I know you've probably got an equally long list of things to talk about. So let's jump right in.
yeah. So, well, just maybe like a highlight package, and then we can like go into it. So, you've been doing a lot of work on MCP. You wrote an article on LinkedIn the other day. It got really popular. Still is popular. So I think there's a lot of learnings to be had there. I've been working. I've just been like a full-on developer. I've been trying to be a developer for the last like 2 weeks. I am literally developing all day, all night. Every moment I get, I'm developing. I'm learning. We've just released a tool to help with learning called No Code, which has been insanely helpful for me, just to actually knowing what I'm doing. And so we can talk a little bit about. I think the vibe coding trend is just not going to stop. It is just going to keep going,
Yeah.
even though there's a lot of people gatekeeping out there, like it is just going to keep going and there's just going to be a massive market. Yeah, I'd like to just talk about OpenAI as well. Like there's just so much dragging them down. I mean, I know they're not a perfect company, but I am of the exact opposite view. I think these guys could potentially be one, if not the biggest company in the world within the next decade. And maybe we could just talk about why I think that, and maybe you could throw in your 2 cents there as well.
Take it away. I'm curious. I'm curious as to your thoughts on that because I don't disagree in terms of the capabilities they have, but the economics of the market just seem kind of stacked against them. But I'm curious how you're viewing it.
Well, so yes, their costs are quite high, right? So supposedly they don't make that much money, but their growth is insane. In 1 year, they've gone from I think about $2 billion of revenue to close to $13 billion in 1 year. Okay, in 1 year, supposedly they cannot find enough compute for the demand. Like there's that high demand for their product even now, right? And then I just
The image stuff alone just kind of burned out their GPUs, they were saying.
Totally. And if you think about that, their market discounts all the competition that will arrive and is arriving, right? But if you just think about what their market is, it's a market for cognition, for intelligence, let's say. Okay. Intelligence is I think cognition is a better term that I've heard. To me, the upside in that is almost unlimited, right? Not only is it unlimited because of how much like you and I use it or a human could use it, right? Think about how much need there will be for intelligence or cognition within robotics, within cars, within physical objects. So if you're just evaluating that alone, that market is so big, it's bigger than anything I've ever seen. So okay, so that's just one, right? Yes, there is a lot of other model providers out there right now, but OpenAI are killing it on the product side, absolutely crushing it on the product side, and I can just see them getting into so many different verticals. So in the past week, I've seen that they're going to start competing with Midjourney. They've just launched something where you can save all your images. Okay, so that's a subscription potential just there. You're going to have the ability to use any software within their platform with MCP. I mean that as a product line is just massive. Not only is it massive that it will capture people, they'll be able to see what's happening on their platform, and they could just like copy the best performing apps and build their own, right? They haven't even started ads yet. They could create any type of like think of any of the modalities, right? Like think about voice. They could build any sort of voice vertical product you could think of, right? But they could do it. They've got the technology, they've got the ability to build it. So I actually see, and today I heard that they're potentially going to start a social media platform, which is sort of AI first social media platform, which could be interesting. I don't know if that'll work. Many have failed. But look, my point is, I just see 100 verticals that they could get into, and that's why I think that they are going to potentially be the largest company probably ever. I think Microsoft in the next 10 years, Microsoft will make more money from their investment in OpenAI than they will make from their own products. That is my pick in the next 10 years.
I I totally agree with that. The question I have is with Meta and with the Chinese companies being committed to open source,
Yeah.
that does there come a point where basically models are good enough, and I think we're getting very close to this point, good enough for the vast majority of consumers, and so the incremental benefit of kind of the newest model is decreasing even at this point, I think. And so at least from a an individual user standpoint, not necessarily from an agent standpoint or a research standpoint, but from just individual users, the models don't have to get much better. And so if you have a company like DeepSeek or Meta that has got a model that is close to the best OpenAI model, and yet it's completely open sourced, um, and people can run that, especially as hardware starts to improve and you can run those easier locally. I just wonder kind of where the profit in a lot of this is. And, it's not, the business side of things is not my expertise by any stretch, but I think there are some industries where almost all the benefits accrue to users. Some of the ones that get talked about are airlines. We all benefit hugely from having air travel, but nobody's making a lot of money on air travel. Email is another one that gets cited a lot that
Yeah.
Google does quite well on Gmail, but nobody else is making serious cash on email, even though it's hugely important to kind of the daily business and personal flow. So I don't know. Does AI become hugely profitable, or does it kind of become a commodity where the most of the producer surplus is kind of extracted?
Maybe on the model side, yes, maybe. But I think there's this product layer, right? That is just so big. It's just so massive. Like every product we use is just going to have AI throughout it. And so the other thing I didn't mention is physical products. Like what is stopping OpenAI getting into physical products? What is
Well,
stopping them?
nothing. I mean, they paid millions to Johnny Ive, and he's designed the what apparently is the first real AI-driven handheld device. I mean, I've got a Rabbit, which is sitting in my junk drawer, but I don't really
Yeah.
count that.
Yeah. There's no doubt there's going to be competition. No doubt in my mind. This is the biggest market we've probably ever seen in our lifetimes. So there'll be a lot of competition. And I actually think there's going to be a lot of winners. I really do. I don't think that it's just all going to accrue to OpenAI. I just think they are so far ahead at the moment. They have so much funding behind them. They just raised $40 billion that it is going to be very hard to compete with them in all these different vectors that they can go for. I just think that they are going to be such a large company. Now, so obviously there's the cost side, right? So yes, DeepSeek have shown that they can do things at a far reduced cost. But I look at that and I think that's great for OpenAI. They've just been handed on a platter how to actually run their systems at a lower cost. There's nothing stopping them from implementing this lower cost driven business model if they want to, right? And they probably are in behind the scenes, right? They're probably learning from everyone else and they are probably implementing it in behind the scenes. And in doing so, they're still probably not even able to service the demand of what's going on. I just think about how much I personally use it on a daily basis, right? Like I'm just hitting this thing all day and every day. And I even switched over to it from a coding perspective yesterday because they released 4.1. And inside of my Windsurf IDE, it's actually better than Claude. Right now. But
I've heard that.
Claude is really slow. It honestly just makes up so much stuff that you don't ask for. 4.1 feels like it's just a little bit more precise. It's not perfect, definitely not perfect, but just way more precise. So again, I'm just now hitting that constantly. So look, it's not going to be in a straight line, and you can't say that everything that OpenAI has done and are doing is massively positive and great for society and all that. Like there's negative externalities for sure, but I just do not think there's any stopping them at this point. I really don't. There's also no stopping Google. There's no stopping Amazon. All of these companies are going to get massive, but they are on a their curve is just exponential. And I would not be surprised if they get to $50 billion of revenue in the next 3 years. Would not be surprised. That's already half of Microsoft's revenue right now, I think. I think
Wow.
Microsoft's sitting at about 100 billion, maybe. That is crazy.
Yeah.
And within 5 years, they've got to 50 billion. Yeah, I'm just a realist. I'm not like pro them or against them. I'm just seeing it all work, all come together, and I'm thinking Man, these guys are on a rocket ship. The other thing that you're probably seeing as well, right, is that MCP and the other thing is memory, which they introduce. Those two things capture you so much in your product. It becomes so hard to leave. Imagine having MCP connected up to all these apps within ChatGPT, and then having all your memories of like how you work within ChatGPT. Like after a year or two, you'll never leave. You'll never want to leave.
You know, the memory, we've been talking about how none of these models are sticky in the sense that you can just jump. I mean, I jump willy-nilly. Like a new model comes out that's better than what I'm using, I jump.
Yeah,
You know, and it doesn't matter who it is. And you're right. I think the memory is one of the things that may keep people there. But the other thing is that the models are getting so fast and the context window is so big that it may actually make it easier to take your memory with you and kind of port it to you. And yeah, the thing I'm doing is, I'm trying to kind of get my system set up so that, instead of using, the Claude desktop, because right now all the MCP configurations require the desktop app. I don't know if that'll always be the case, but instead of kind of getting tied down to, Anthropic or OpenAI, I'm trying to kind of transition over to using like Windsurf as my MCP home base. And that way I've got the benefit of every model. And then I can tie the MCP tools into kind of the central setup of my IDE, not my AI model. And that
yeah,
way, you can not only flip tools, but you can flip models. And so I'm trying, it'll be interesting to see if there's a way to keep your memory resident in a tool outside of the AI model.
yeah. And look, I totally agree, and I don't think it's a good idea. Even though I'm saying this, I also believe it's not a good idea to get stuck with one company, get stuck with one
Yeah.
market. I don't think it's a good idea, and I think that that's actually a huge business opportunity for lots of people to try and take advantage. Like you very likely want this um, array of models to use in different products. So that's a really good example, but I just don't think it will stop him. Like, here's an example. Here's an example. To me, there is nothing stopping OpenAI building their own AI first email provider, their AI first CRM application, AI analytics application, and right there, you have a business captured, right? Like, if a business signs up to your service, you're probably going to be a customer for 20 years because those are the sort of things that you just don't walk away from, right? And so once I think you get in, there's all these little things that will capture you and will mean that you'll always pay a subscription. It might not be the only AI model you ever use, but you'll always have a OpenAI subscription. I mean, I've got the high you and I've got the highest tier. I don't even use it anywhere close to paying, how much I'm paying, but like I still want to have a subscription just so I can use it.
It's funny. I've been really debating going out of that $200 one back to the lower tier because I've got now so many. I've got, Super Bass. I have Windsurf and Cursor because I was trying them both out.
Yeah.
I've got Zapier is a new one that we can talk about that is
Yeah.
doing some amazing stuff that I immediately want to jump to premium, on that. And so there's Runway, the Gen 4 Runway is amazing, So I've racked up so many new subscriptions in the past, 2 weeks that I'm kind of thinking, I'm really not using that OpenAI Pro much. And the thing is,
Mm.
through Open Router, you can now access the O1 Pro. It's expensive, from a per million tokens standpoint, but it's a lot
Right. Yeah.
cheaper than
Yeah.
paying $200.
And you can access 4.1 as well, which is only on the API
Yeah.
currently.
Well, the thing that's really interesting about 4.1 is I don't know if you saw the post I did this weekend about kind of stalking the cloaked models. So what companies will do, and OpenAI is definitely
Oh,
one of
yes.
them,
On
is
Open
they
Router.
run they run on OpenRouter, they run
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
kind of coded models that are for testing purposes. And there's one called Optimus Alpha, and it was just lights out this weekend when I was playing with it. It's fast, it's
Yeah.
smart, it's got a million tokens of upfront context. And I don't know if that's what 4.1 is or if that's going to be one of the forthcoming models, but that one is phenomenal. I mean, it's definitely, I haven't tested it head to head against Gemini 2.5, which has
Mm.
also come out with a couple of incremental releases. And the pace of improvement still, we're nowhere near hitting the wall, I think.
Yeah, I think the latest crop of models that have come out in the last month, they are even better than what we saw 3 months ago, 6 months ago. Like 4.1,
Yeah.
I'm using it in Windsurf. You can use it for free in Windsurf at the moment. The best thing about it is it's fast. It's fast because I was just
Yeah.
so bored of waiting for Claude 3.7 and I've given up on that model. I don't even use it anymore. I mean, it's completely stupid half the time. Absolutely ruins your code base. But 4.1 was fast, and when I wanted it to be precise, it was most of the time it was precise. If I wanted it to do like a little bit more creative stuff, it did do that. Not always that great, but it's at least it listened to you. So, something improved there, right? Something improved there. So look, I think they are still going to get better. Like by all accounts, they are. It's kind of hard to believe. I mean, I don't think they need to get any better. There's still 5 years of runway, just how good they are now. The 4.1 also has a 1 million context. So I think that makes a difference too, right? Because it's feeding a lot more of larger code bases directly into the context when it's actually answering something. When you're using Claude, I think it only has like 150, and that's why it does completely stupid stuff half the
128.
time. Well, yeah, right. So it's just completely stupid stuff when your code base gets remotely large. Big evolutions happening and still happening. One of the big trends that I highlighted this on, like, I mean, I've been talking about this for months, but this trend of vibe coding is not going anywhere. It is going to be, I think it's the biggest trend from a internal workflow point of view in my career that I've seen. Like it's just so widespread. Like who can do this, where you could actually add value with creating these sort of things. Software is just not even close to saturation. It's only touched a surface of things because of how hard it was to actually create it. But it's been
Yeah.
democratized like crazy.
Well, I think one of the really interesting things now is companies developing additional tools explicitly for vibe coding. So Google just released that Chrome extension that basically facilitates vibe coding and is supposedly like I saw somebody the other day developed a Duolingo clone
Yep.
one shot and I mean it is phenomenal. And
Yep.
so I haven't played with the extension yet, but I didn't know if you had, but
Is that
from what I've
Firebase?
seen,
Is that what you're talking about, Firebase?
um,
I didn't know it was an extension. I thought it was like a full-blown app. But is that what you mean? Is
I
it
don't think so. I think there's another one. I'll have to check,
is
but
it Firebase?
as I say, it's not one I've played with, but I've seen a couple of demonstrations of it, and it's
Yeah.
it's geared specifically to the type of vibe coding that you've been doing a lot of.
I think it's called Firebase Studio from what
Yes.
I'm seeing here. Yes. Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now. Yeah. So similar to Lovable, Bolt, all these other companies. Like these companies are some of the fastest growing companies in the world right now. So yeah, of course they're going to get competition from some players out there. And yeah, look, but to me, it's a similar sort of thing. Like the market is so vast. Like these tools are so easy to use for building simple things. Like all school children could use them.
Yeah, you said
All
your son is like,
yeah, my
coding
son.
it.
I mean, he's kind of lost interest and now just wants to play games. But we did well for a little while there. I mean, he's only 8, but you can build simple stuff, and anyone can do it, right? So like, there's just such a vast market, and there's just going to be a whole range of skill levels. There's going to be a whole range of like types of software. Like the way I think software, it probably needs a different name. It probably did like vibe coded software needs a different name because really it's just a zooped up Excel spreadsheet with a nice front end. Like that to me is what I think is being created here.
Yeah, a couple of points on, I think I wanted to go back to your point about context windows. When the reasoning models came out, the thing I really was waiting for, and kind of the holy grail of this was being able to train the reasoning models in real time on your additional content. Throw your code base, throw your books in there. And Claude had that projects feature, but it's really tiny. Like, basically one big PDF document or, one data set blows the full capacity of that. So it was a good um, kind of proof of concept, but it wasn't that useful. But now that we've got these million token context windows, and now I've heard that Gemini is going to be releasing a 2 million context window. Now that you've got that, that's basically like on the fly custom GPTs. I mean, what I do is like I will throw, I now get all my books, my data book collection is hard copy, but I also get electronic copies now. That a lot of publishers give you the electronic copy when you buy the hard copy, but if they don't, I just buy an electronic copy, and I throw those in my prompts, and being able to do that in the million and 2 million context window just dramatically improves things.
Yeah.
And I had one today where I was coding some R stuff and it wasn't quite getting it. And so I just threw a vignettes document in with a bunch of examples and it just nailed it right after I put it in there. And so, kind of having that really large flexible context window just makes a huge difference. I think it's one of the really underrated things. And I think when you combine that with the memory, where it knows everything that's in your past chats. That is a really powerful combination. I mean, even if the basic model is no better than it was, you graft those two things onto it, it becomes a lot more powerful from the user standpoint.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we've been saying that for a while, haven't we? We've kind of agreed on that, like the context actually having more idea or like being able to give more information around every single prompt is probably more important than better models at this point. But I mean, if you can converge both of those together, that I mean,
Right.
that's just totally game changing. But the reason why like I use these vibe coding apps. I mean, I've been through a journey, as you know. Like I initially was a bit of a vibe coder, but I've realized, and I've used these extensively, like pretty much all of them. I have a subscription to every single one, and I've used a lot of them. I prefer Lovable for true vibe coding, just because I find it less insanely useful. But I've graduated more now to like a proper IDE. So, but I'm using Windsurf because I love the AI there. Um, but my journey has been as I've vibe coded, I've realized these tools are incredible for simple applications, incredible, make it so easy. But as soon as you want to build something meaningful, maybe even something a bit defensible, you actually need to learn how to code. You need to learn how to
Mm.
architect everything in your application. There is just no AI even out there right now, even Gemini 2.5, even the best model that can help you build something incredible, like or build something really, really good. That builds something with all the security features that you need to have lots of users giving you your data. So um, even though I absolutely love these vibe coding tools, I still use them. I used one yesterday to whip up a really simple app, like as a prototype, for an idea that I had. They can only get you so far. I do think though that that's going to improve a lot. Like from what I read, of what these tools are talking about, they're hell bent on getting people further up that curve. They're going to try and make it even easier to build better and more comprehensive apps. They're not there yet. I think they're restricted by the AI's models at the moment, but they're going to have integrations like Bolt just included a Stripe integration, so it becomes insanely easy to put a Stripe checkout into your app. There's Supabase integrations, there's GitHub integrations. Just wait until they start integrating with every AI tool imaginable. There's going to be like marketplaces for these things, and it'll be like one click, add that to your site. Add an image model, add Open Router, one click. Like these things are going to have integrations everywhere, and it's just going to become so much easier. And so even when you just think about the curve that we're on in terms of number of developers now, I mean, that is just going to get exponentially bigger. I just don't think there's any stopping. I don't think there's any stopping there.
I mean, one of the things that is really interesting about your journey is that if you had if somebody told you like in a year you'll actually be developing software like a traditional developer, you would have been like, no way.
Relevant.
Like, that seems so far off, I would imagine. And now
Mm,
it's kind of like the vibe coding is a bridge.
yes.
It basically it's kind of like it's kind of like remedial coding in some sense, and it gets you up to a point of knowledge and confidence, and then from there I find it just makes it so much easier to learn new things. That
Relevant.
as it's that what we talked about last time. It's that learn by doing,
Yeah.
and I think there are going to be a lot of I think like a lot of things, it's going to become bimodal. That you're going to have the people who stay vibe coders who just do quick and dirty stuff that kind of meets a need for them. And then I think what you're going to have is people who take it further and become almost more traditional developers and still using AI tools, but really augment the vibe coding with a lot more additional knowledge. And that to me is, that's a fantastic outcome either way.
Totally. Totally. Well, look, I think these new AI tools have changed my life, have changed the trajectory of my career, actually, and even business. This wave, in my view, is probably 10 times bigger than Power BI ever was. And there is going to be 10 times, likely 20 times the amount of people actually using these tools and needing to learn how to use them, how to code them, and everything in between. So yeah, I mean it's absolutely phenomenal. But there's also a lot of ill-advised takes I feel out there right now. Like I'm so deep into this. I know all the pros and I know all the cons. It's not all rainbows. It's not all doom. There's going to be a wide spectrum of software. There's going to be simple vibe coded apps that people will use on for very simple things, and then there's still going to be this wave of like this huge grouping of more custom, comprehensive applications, right? There's going to be more work for developers than ever. I don't see one developer losing their jobs or having nothing to do. I think they're going to have so much more to do. It's unbelievable. Real developers have such an advantage. I mean, if you know what you're doing with these tools, I mean, you can leverage them to do honestly anything. Anything. Like
Yeah.
I'm running as fast as I can to actually understand everything that is being written by the AI so that I can actually run faster myself. Like imagine if you already knew that. But yeah, there's also going to be this, I think, this huge wave of those getting into it who realize what I realize, and the journey that I've been on is that they can only get you so far. Like if you want to build something actually meaningful, have real users, actually maybe make money out of it, you need to know exactly what is going on in every single piece of your code, like every single piece of your application. There's just no getting around that. I don't see that ever get. I don't see in the near future that changing. So yeah, I think there's just more opportunities for everyone. This is a huge market. This is a huge wave that is opening up, and there's just so many opportunities in amongst it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, the interesting thing I wanted to go back to is, when you said kind of that, OpenAI or any of the big companies may develop kind of all these pieces together that kind of forms a cohesive suite. And maybe I'm kind of more of an optimizer and a tinkerer, that I always want to be using the best of each type of tool. And so, for somebody like me, I love, I am so in on the MCP model, where basically you pick your you pick your IDE, you pick your AI model, and you can switch them up, and then you pick your tools and you plug them all in, and it just works the way you want it to work. It's like you can build, instead of kind of getting cranky that Power BI hasn't done this or hasn't done that. You assemble your tools in a way that they do what you want them to do. And the thing that really struck me last night is I was working on I posted a video about MCP combination I did with Obsidian and Claude. And the amazing thing about it was I mean, it's a hugely useful tool for me. It basically logs my prompts. Any prompt I want to save, it automatically logs it. It puts a whole standardized front matter on it. It puts the prompt itself, the response. It does a summary and kind of a critical assessment of the issues with the prompt, and then just puts it right in my Obsidian vault, and it's now fully searchable and fully retrievable right from the AI. Like I don't have to jump between apps. I just type it and say, okay, like give me all the stuff I've done about Claude and Anthropic, and it'll say, okay, here are all your posts. And I'll say, okay, summarize that in 3 bullet points and add it to my running list of podcast topics. And it just does all that. And the thing that was amazing about it was it really felt like kind of the true model of co-intelligence that Moloch's been, writing about. That so I basically came to Claude and said, okay, here's what I want to do. And then Claude said, okay, that's cool. Do you want me to make a template of, for Obsidian? And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. And so it made a template. And then we talked about the template for a bit and, we modified it a little. And then I said, okay, here are the custom instructions that I wrote for you. Because none of the models at this point can modify their own custom instructions, which is probably a good thing. That's probably a safety thing. But
Mm.
um, so I basically uploaded the custom instructions I wrote, and it wrote back and said, okay, these are good, but here are some suggestions to make it better. And the suggestions it made were really good. And it was like we truly were kind of working in partnership. It was better at programming the Obsidian template stuff. I was better at kind of the larger concept and putting the custom instructions together, but then its technical knowledge of that stuff really polished it. And it just works flawlessly now. And it really felt like kind of a neat partnership. It sounds weird, but
Mm.
um, it was kind of indistinguishable from if I'd been on a conference call or a chat.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's it's so fascinating. I mean, just for those who don't quite understand MCP, let's just quickly just go over it. I know we talked about it last time, but basically it's a way for your AI tools to talk to other tools. So what's happening for in your instance is that Claude is connecting to Obsidian via API calls. So every time you're writing something in Claude about Obsidian, it is then going and making a call to Obsidian, collecting all the information in your Obsidian instance or account, and then communicating with it with the AI model. So the AI model is bringing in a whole lot of context every time it's answering something. Um, Kind of like how ChatGPT has like search, and it's going and searching the web. Well, this time it's
Yep.
searching your actual specific tool. Um, and as we discussed last time, this is an incredible evolution of these tools, and I think, and it's literally only getting started. I mean, this could be just this alone could probably be a bigger market than all software combined right now, just because the ease of which you can do things is going to be incredible if you could just do it within one experience instead of having to jump to 10 different tools. You could just sit in one experience and you could do your marketing, you could do your creative work, you could do learning, you could do so it's I mean, I don't think either of us could probably safely say where this is all going, but
Oh,
it's going to be massive.
huge. And one of the coolest things, for people who are interested in playing with this themselves is Zapier has a free MCP integration tool that is remarkable. The
Right.
minute I started playing with it, I'm like, I signed up for the premium version because like I want everything they've got to offer on this
Yeah.
because once you connect it, and it's a little bit, it takes a little bit of work to get it connected, and they're definitely making that easier. But once you have it connected, you have 7,000 tools that you can configure just straight off a web page. You just search for the ones you want. You click, you select them, you hit enable, and boom. So I've got my email hooked up, I've got my calendar, I've got my to-do list, I've got my Google Drive, my Dropbox. So I can just push stuff in and out of all this seamlessly just from my chatbot. You know,
This is like this just goes back to my point. I mean, you're doing it in Claude, right? But just think about when OpenAI does this, and you can voice activate all the stuff. I mean,
oh, I
it's
do that.
oh, you already do it, right? So so you but Claude doesn't have like a voice like ChatGPT does, right? Like
No,
you
I
can
use
voice
it
type.
an external.
Yeah, yeah. So I do similar thing on Windsurf, but just think about, this is what OpenAI is doing. They actually have the full on voice, right? Like you'll be able to literally talk to do all this stuff. I mean, but it's just mind blowing. Like they are building that personal assistant that is going to change everything. It's going to change everything. Being able to manipulate. I mean, I will have so many more software subscriptions. I'm telling you now, like I already probably have more than 99% of people, and I'm going to have a lot more because if I can do that and I can build a Zapier workflow that I can plug in or that can help me and save me time, like I'm going to do it, right? Like it's worth the money. It's worth the investment if you can create like Zapier, by the way, I've used Zapier for a long, long time. It's hard to use. It's hard to use. Like it's a no code tool, but man, you've got to spend a lot of time getting understand. Like if you want to do anything meaningful, it historically wasn't that easy. It's not that easy. It isn't. It's doable, but not that easy.
Yeah,
So
the MCP, once you get the MCP hooked in, it is beyond easy. I mean, it's literally just search for what you want, turn it on.
yeah,
There's absolutely nothing to it.
this is what agents are. It totally is, isn't it? Like we've always questioned what agents were, but this is it.
Yeah.
This tool connection and these the ability for the AI models to talk to the APIs that are being sent back and forth all the time. This is agents. This is what agents is.
Well, and the interesting thing about Obsidian is a local, like one of the advantages or one of the attributes it has, which for a lot of people is an advantage. I definitely consider is it's all local and it's all in Markdown. And so
Mm,
what it does is there's a plugin that creates a REST API to your local vault. And so you can kind of have all the advantage of having this stuff in the cloud, but the security of not having this personal stuff anywhere outside of your own computer.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And then what you can do is on different platforms you can keep local vaults. I have a local vault on my tablet, on my phone, on my laptop, on my desktop, and it just automatically syncs all of them together. Um, and
Mm,
it's remarkable. And you combine that with the memory that it now has, and it's like an assistant that knows you.
yeah, yeah. Well, just think about this for a second. I think there's going to be a future where even these vibe coding tools, or even Windsurf, even Cursor, they could become MCP, like part of this MCP. They're doing MCP, you can connect into them. But what if you could connect into them through ChatGPT? What if you could within
Yeah.
ChatGPT say, I want to build something with Bolt, I want to build something with Lovable, I want to update my app within Windsurf. Go and grab the GitHub repo, put into Windsurf, go and make this change. Like to me, that's probably like 2 to 3 years away. You'll be able to use these tools to build tools with MCP in them. I mean, it's crazy to
Oh,
think about.
people are already doing that. And people
Yeah.
are already building their own, like, it's not just, kind of connecting to MCP through the configuration files. People are just coding their own MCP servers. You know, I'm a little nervous about that because I think, then you really do have to think about security because you're giving this assistant the keys to the castle. I mean, you're giving it your email, you're giving it your file system, and so I'm being very conservative in terms of, I mean, Zapier, I think has shown a trustworthiness and a a level of attention to security that I trust. But in terms of the other ones I'm using, I'm being really careful, because it does open up the potential for, kind of disastrous security lapse.
Yeah, totally, totally. I think security is going to be big. Like it is a big business already, but in, in all sorts of ways, it's going to become a bigger business.
Yeah,
It's a great business to get into. There's going to be such a big market to secure everything. But that's also, that's all a big reason why Microsoft is so successful, right? Is because they have convinced everyone, like particularly in large business, how important security is, right? And so you'll never want to go to a smaller player if Microsoft have something because they're secure. I think the same thing's going to happen with AI models in the court in the institutional space anyway, right? Like you're never going to go with a small model. You're always going to go with the big providers like OpenAI or Google or Amazon or Claude or whatever,
yeah.
because these guys are going to be spending the most money on security.
Well, it's kind of like the old saying, nobody ever got fired for choosing IBM, and
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the case for a lot of these big models is that, even if they're not the best or the cheapest or the fastest, they're going to kind of have a level of confidence that, using kind of the interesting but off-brand model is just not going to give you that level of security in an organization.
Yeah.
But
Theoretically, MCP is actually Copilot's biggest unlock opportunity as well, right? Like I think Copilot's been massively struggling and not selling anywhere near as much as what Microsoft would want. I think a clear signal of that is that they've pulled back on building big data centers or like AI first data centers. There's been a bit of news about that. My feeling is that they're just not seeing the demand for their own Copilot as much as they first imagined. But MCP to me, like if they start building all of their products, because MCP, right, from a product, from a like your own software perspective, it's just building APIs that the AI can talk to. That's all it is. They have an entire ecosystem of incredibly popular tools where if they just build quality APIs, which I'm sure they will, you'll be able to connect Copilot into everything within your ecosystem. So I think that this will potentially be that massive unlock for Copilot as a product that probably just isn't there right now. Because you hear a lot of complaints that the model isn't smart enough, it's not giving enough utility. But if it can connect to actual tools that people are using every day, I think that could change things. I think that could change the scenario a lot because that's almost like a wow experience. If you're able to manipulate a Power BI report or a spreadsheet or an app or your dynamics, something in dynamics or something in your database or whatever, I think it could be quite an unlock for them.
I mean, the interesting thing is Zapier's already done it. You can do Outlook, you can do Excel, you can do OneNote, you can do the Microsoft To Do. It's like they've got those integrations now, and you know the thing about Microsoft is I just don't have an idea of what their vision for Copilot is. It seems like every week you hear something different. It's like, for a while it was like this is geared to the C-suite and to the executive level and not the kind of hardcore AI user. And then, it seems like it's constantly shifting. And I just get the feeling they just don't have a clear vision of what they want Copilot to be.
Yeah, look, I don't know either. I mean, I've used it a couple of times, but it was just never like, wow, why would I use this above like ChatGPT or something else I've got? I just think it's those integrations. I think it's the agentic era, as another way to say it. Like that to me is like the meaningful thing is that being able to control Microsoft applications within a natural language environment. I just don't know how far down the road they are with that right now. I don't think they're far. I think it's very early, just really, really early there. But I don't know, like I feel like Microsoft's execution over the last couple of years has been pretty average, honestly. It's been pretty average in the AI wave. I
Maybe
think
that's being
having a
generous.
really likable CEO is helping them so much right now because I just don't think from a Microsoft perspective they're executing that well compared to what else is going on around them, right? Like to me, so much other exciting stuff is going on around them, and it's just not having as big an impact. They're not doing anything exciting. I mean, there's probably a reason. You know, they're an institutional company. They've got a lot of corporate customers. They can't rush into things. But yeah, I just don't think. I don't know. It's that kind of that innovator's dilemma. If you, like, it's not even worth these. In a lot of cases, maybe this is different, but the large companies innovating, it's not worth it. There's too much risk involved. Um, they're better off just waiting to see who does well and then buy them. So, that to me is probably more so that's what's going to happen here. They might buy Zapier. They make so much money, and OpenAI is just a rocket ship, which they own half of supposedly.
Yeah.
So they'll sit there and wait and buy the ones that are successful.